Okay, so we're live. So let's go ahead and get it started with the prayers. Anybody that wants to volunteer to start?
I can.
Okay.
Our dear Father in heaven, I want to thank you for the opportunity that we have to meet as a class today, as a group, and discuss this case study. Please help us to have the spirit of learning with us. We're thankful for the opportunity that we have to learn at BYU at an institution that gives us learning both spiritually and temporally. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay, guys. So let me go ahead and just read to you real quick a brief synopsis of what's going on. The case describes the dilemma of a marketing manager, Thomas Green, who, after being rapidly promoted to a new position, is harshly criticized by his boss. Green and his boss disagree on work styles and market projections. Green believed the sales goals set by his boss are based on creative accounting and grossly overstated the current market environment. A mood of silent conflict develops quickly between Green and his boss, and Green is concerned that his boss is building a case to fire him. Green's situation is one in which his failure to adapt his work style and fully understand the demands and boundaries of his new position may lead to his discharge. So, what do you see as the key issues in the case?
All right, I'll go.
Okay.
I think the biggest problem, I guess, is that Green's boss thought he was going to be able to replace him, and he didn't get to interview him, and he was just given Green. And then the first thing it seems like Green does is tell him that he's wrong in the middle of a meeting with everybody else there. So I think it just started wrong. The
Right.
the whole way that he was promoted just started wrong from an organizational standpoint.
Okay. One of the big issues that I kind of think, kind of looking at it, is um, I think the biggest problem you got here is I honestly think that Sharon McDonald had a little bit more confidence or more faith in what his ability was. I think her reservations against having no managerial experience is really starting to play out, starting to show, and I kind of I think I think he's a really good employee. I think he's got a lot of good ideas. I think he's talented. He's proven that with his sales record and how well he's done. But I think, honestly, in my opinion, I think Sharon should probably have waited to promote him. I think he should have developed a little bit more within the company, not move as quickly. I think that may have helped a little bit in this situation, but I also think he's in this situation now, and so is Sharon. So I think overall, I do agree with you there, Mike, on the situation on how the meeting went. I did not like how he just started to blab out, basically not agreeing with what his boss said is presenting. That never really goes over well. You should be in mutual agreement, or at least be able to back up what your boss is gonna be presenting.
Or
So
at least wait till you have a relationship with the person that he knows
yeah.
that you're not just attacking him or whatever. I mean, it's like the first thing he
Mhm.
does, the first meeting, he basically tells him he's an idiot.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
I
hasn't been with the
agree.
company even a year yet, and it's months he's been in this new position where Green's been with the company 17 years. I mean, it's just a bad move.
Yeah.
And I think another huge issue is that Green just doesn't do what he's told. Like, update your Outlook. Come on.
Yeah, no kidding. How hard is that to do?
Give your boss your schedule. I mean, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
That's why this case study just made me mad.
I think also like he didn't really know like of communication in the company. He didn't have enough time to grab a hold of that or learn how like his supervisors wanted him to work because he moved up so fast. So, but I mean, I think maybe if he knew what the expectations were a little bit more of his responsibilities, he would have done better. But at the same time, it wasn't like that big of a deal like that he shouldn't have already known.
Yeah, it's kind of a common sense type thing, but yeah, I agree with what you said. Personally, having been in the situation before where you move up and there's somebody that's your supervisor who doesn't necessarily like you, didn't get to pick who was going in that position. You kind of have to take the reins as the understudy and cover your own butt. I mean, realistically, what Green needs to do is say, okay, sit down and hash out what are your expectations, how do you want things done, and really make sure he meets and exceeds all those expectations, because he's going to be scrutinized harder than anybody else because he wasn't chosen directly by his supervisor. So he needs to cover his own butt in that regard.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, his boss has those meetings with him, and he doesn't do it. It's like,
no, I mean, he's too stubborn and thinks that his boss doesn't know what he's doing and refuses to rely on that experience, which is absurd.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a few issues, obviously. So if you guys were Shannon McDonald, would you have hired Thomas Green? Why or why not?
Ooh. Hi guys, I just got this link. I'm so confused. How's everyone doing?
Good. How are you?
Have you guys been like on for a while or like?
No, we've been on for maybe about 10 minutes or so. I'm actually gonna take over. I'm gonna do the case this week just because it sounds like you need to get off pretty quickly, or you're not gonna be able.
I mean, I've got to go somewhere around 9, but I'm totally okay to cover for someone. Like if whoever's doing it next week, if they don't want to, like I'll cover a week or two. I don't care. Like whatever you guys think, because I know
Ryan,
I haven't been here as good lately.
Well, I think for me, I had a week where I was gonna be on for. I was gonna do double duty, so I did it the first week, and then I was planning on doing just doing a second time. So this will be just my second time, and then
okay,
I can take over that week. You can just switch me that week. Yeah,
next week, or is that in the future?
I think it's in a couple weeks. I think it's it's a little ways away. I'll let you know. I haven't been able to find the document yet, but I'll find it and let you know exactly what it is.
Cool.
But
yeah, I mean, it's not too hard to go through like the group discussion questions and stuff anyways. Like it's not too big of a deal, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll take care of it this week, and then I'll let you know what week that was for me, and then you can just take over for there. So
okay, cool. I'll probably stick around for a bit. I don't have to go quite yet, so whenever, it's all good.
Okay. So I guess let's get back to what we were talking about. So, like, if you guys were Shannon McDonald, would you guys have hired Thomas Green? Why or why not? What's some pros and cons of the choices? What would be good and what would be bad?
About Thomas or about Davis?
No, Thomas, the guy that they promoted. Thomas is, they promoted him, and so why would
I think it was good to hire him. I mean, yeah, I think it was a good choice. I don't know, in my opinion, as I thought about it, like, I don't know. I just think Davis had a terrible reaction to the whole thing at the budget meeting and stuff about him confronting about having bad numbers and stuff. But I think you need someone like that, if he recognized like, oh, those numbers don't look like they were calculated right, or that they just look like bad forecasts and everything, I think it's nice to have someone like Thomas who will speak up about it on the team and be like, yeah, I don't feel like these numbers are good, and they need to be rethought of. I think it was a good decision.
Okay. What is everybody else's thoughts on it?
I think she should have waited a little bit, like some of you already said. She should have waited for him to have more experience in the company. I think it was a little bit too soon for him.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine balance because,
Yeah. Well,
you know, Davis, the numbers could very possibly be wrong, and he could be just doing what looks good. And so you want somebody, I think, that is willing to see things from a different angle. But at the same time, I mean, you don't want him to get so ingrained in the culture that he can't step outside the box. But at the same time, you don't want to hire him so fast that he causes so much disruption among the team that it ends in a fiery blowout, which seems like is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I personally probably would have waited a little bit longer, or if I pulled the trigger to promote him, I would have made sure that I was with him a lot, you know, on the road or whatever, and making sure I would have been checking in a lot, making sure that he was doing it and not waiting for these performance reviews, because she already knew from the beginning that she promoted the guy and he had no experience. She even warned him that Davis was going to be upset. So I think I would have taken more of an interest in him and made sure that the transition happened better, if that was meant to.
Yeah, she should have almost been holding his hand just to get him started, honestly, because he had like no experience with the company. And then, but I mean, he was really driven, like really focused and like a hard worker. But I feel like he missed a lot of the professionalism of like when it came to communicating with his, you know, the people above him and letting them know what was going on. It's just kind of not really well put together. He seemed really overwhelmed, but
Yeah.
For me, I'm not sure even the hire was that big of a controversy, but you know, and you know, if she really felt that he was that good from the get-go, you know, it's ultimately her decision to make. But you need to include your people who are going to be their supervisors in that decision. They need to at least be aware and have a say. You know, they need to have a meeting and be involved in that instead of her just saying, "All right, here's your guy." You know, he really doesn't know anything about him. So she just put both of them in a really awkward position by not communicating well.
I feel like that happens quite a bit, though.
Oh, it does.
Like, it happened to me all the time. My boss would just be like, here's your new employee. And I'd be like, oh, great.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, I personally, my thought on it is basically, I think she should have waited just a little bit longer, but I do kind of agree with Ryan that you do need a guy like this, but I don't think he handled it in the right way during the meeting. I think it's one of those things. Yeah, you should bring it up, but maybe bring it up with it, you know, you two just personally in a meeting or something like that after the fact. I don't think the way that he approached it was the greatest. I think he can learn from that, and I think, you know, that's something he could take away from it. I honestly think that in this situation, I do kind of agree with Shannon, though. He does have a lot of talent, and I think she saw that, and I would be a little hesitant like her with, you know, the managerial issues, but at the same time, sometimes you just have to take those risks and take that leap of faith and knowing, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. You may end up, you know, he might have been the greatest guy she's ever, you know, hired, but at the same time, it's looking like right now there's some issues, but I think he really could have handled it a little bit better in this situation. But I think overall they should have waited just a little bit. I think Shannon kind of jumped the gun a little bit. I think she could have waited at least, you know, even a month or two, you know, kind of get a feel of what he's doing, because he needs to be a little familiar with the company. I honestly think it takes it takes time. The company I work for, we always want to make sure the person's going to be, it's going to prove themselves. You don't want to hire someone that's going to be like a lot tech, like at our dealership that washes cars, and then a month later, 2 months later, hire him as to be a salesman. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like that's kind of what happened here. He kind of jumping the gun a little bit. So I don't know. I think they should have waited a little bit longer, but he should have handled it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the problems with waiting though is that you never know when that position is going to come open again. So
Yeah.
Was there like an urgency to fill that position? Do you know at all, or?
yeah, it doesn't say, but the guy who he replaced had been there for like 17 years in that position or something.
Right.
So it seems like it might not come open that often, and then they might lose him if they don't promote him. So it's kind of.
That's true. Yeah. And and I like I said, I'm kind of on the fence between. I think I don't know. I think he could handle things a little bit better. I think he should be, if your boss tells you to do something, you do it. You know what I mean? But if you also have a problem and you need to bring it up, there's good ways of bringing it up, and there's right situations and right places to do it. And I don't think he did that during the meeting. I think he kind of went the wrong way on that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so guys, let's kind of describe who Frank Davis is. What does he value? What is the end goal he is after? Let's kind of go through a little bit and kind of go to Frank's side of things, I guess. Let's kind of get an idea of who Frank is and kind of get an idea, what's his kind of, approach to this? What's his goal? Like, if you guys were Frank, does that make sense?
I don't know what to think about him. I mean, honestly, he seemed like he just had an overreaction. I mean, even though Thomas probably shouldn't have brought that up in the meeting, I don't know, ever since after that meeting, he just seemed to really, micromanage him and just over the top. Just did not need to be that controlling, in my opinion. But I don't know. I think he's got some personality kind of issues, but he seems smart though too. Knows what he's doing. But that's just me.
Yeah.
I think he's an old school guy who's been with the company forever, and doesn't want somebody new coming in and telling him what to do. Right? He's set in his ways at that company. It's how they've always done it, and that's how he's going to continue to do it. On the other hand, if he tells his guy to do something, that guy needs to do it. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
That's how jobs work.
If he tells you to update your dang schedule, then update your schedule. It just doesn't seem like. I mean, it seems to me like he's obviously making a case to get rid of him. He's doing everything that a manager does to get rid of the guy.
Yeah.
All these little performance reviews and all these little chats that he's having with them. I mean, he's just setting him up to go down.
I agree. I think Frank is a great manager, but at the same time, I kind of think he needs to kind of let little things go here and there, but also he does need to have those reviews with Thomas to kind of give him an idea. Okay, this is not okay. This is what this is what I'm expecting. And kind of give him some corrective action. Let's make some goals. Let's do this.
I think he did do that.
Yeah, he did. And I think, I think Frank is really looking out for the best interest of Thomas for the most part. I don't know. It's kind of hard. There wasn't a lot of information. It was a pretty short case study, so there wasn't a lot of information. So I think Frank, obviously, he's a manager for a reason. He wasn't just put there to put there. He's got a lot of experience. So I think Thomas can learn a lot from Frank. I think based off of Thomas's actions, I kind of think he might be, pushing off or kind of kind of not really respecting his manager, even though I don't think he's trying to do that. But based off his actions, sometimes I think it's coming across that way, and that could be a little reason why there's some issues there too. Frank might be seeing that, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think at the same time, I think Frank needs to look at himself and take a self-evaluation as well, because one of the things that happens if you're with a company for that long is that, like I said, you just can't see outside of the company culture and the company box and see new ideas. I mean, Green has a lot of great ideas for how to increase revenue, especially with the downturn coming that's going to just destroy what they're supposed to do. And Frank is so blinded to these ideas he can't even see them. I think they could if you were to bring Green into his office and say, look, give me your ideas, let's work these out. Can you also update your schedule and do this and this and this? And I think if they blend themselves together, they could hit a home run. But if he's unwilling to look at himself as well as a leader, then it's just going to go down.
Yep.
In my case, I think that it has also something with personalities, because I think that Davis was the opposite of Green, because I think that Davis was more controller, or as you said, was more of the old school, and Green was the other. In the other side, Green was very impulsive, and he take a lot of decision by himself. So I think that this was also very um, well, there was not a balance in this relation, so maybe they could negotiate another manager, or they could negotiate another um, deadlines for the reports and all the information that Green had to report to Davis, because I think that Green needed his maybe his schedule or his own leadership in order to keep working and achieving the results that he had in the past.
Yeah. So, what about Thomas Green? What's his value? What do you think his end goal is? What do you think he's after?
I think he's hungry. I think he wants to earn a living, and he wants to move up in the company, and he also wants to see what the experiences he gets at this company can do for him later in his career. But I think that he's hungry, and he's not doing the things that he needs to do to ingratiate himself to management, right? Like we've said this whole time. This guy wants reports done on his sales figures or whatever, so that he can relay them to his other employees, right? He can see what his whole department is doing, and Green won't do them. It's like, just do the PowerPoint presentation or send him the Excel spreadsheet, and I mean, how long is that going to take? It just.
Yeah.
So I think his value is he's an extremely good salesman. Obviously, we know that because he was there for like a couple months and made a humongous sale, right?
Right.
But he needs to be taught how to be a leader, and I don't know if Frank Davis can do that.
I kind of got the impression that as he was starting to, his goal was to kind of, well, I don't remember the word he said, but like to dazzle or to like kind of shake things up at the company he was going into, almost kind of like to show off or look like a big shot. So I feel like he wanted to, I don't know, work really hard to look really good. And then when he was put into this new position, it's like he had that same type of mindset, but he needed to be a little bit more professional with his approach. He needed to be a little better at communicating, and it just wasn't really there. He was working hard. It seemed like he was having success, but he wasn't keeping people informed, and it was causing confusion.
Yeah, I think that's one of the problems with sales guys in general, though, kind of, right? I mean, the top salespeople that I've ever known in any business I've worked in are horrible people to work with.
They're like more of like a lone wolf kind of style, right?
And most of them can't make the transition from top salesperson to good manager.
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically, let's kind of we're gonna have to move a little forward a little quicker. I'm sorry, guys. We might have to skip over a few things. It's not. There's a lot of detail we should probably go over, but I don't know if we'll have enough time. But how does power and office politics come into play in this case study?
I think we kind of said it, right? I mean, Davis is mad that he didn't get to pick his replacement. He's mad that Green is 20 years younger than he is and hasn't had to do the same kind of work he did to get a manager job. And McDonald took Davis's place in making this decision and didn't even inform him. And then Green, as Davis's subordinate, calls him out in a meeting in front of everybody. So I think it's kind of all the stuff we said. Plays a major part in any company. I think that there's politics in any business, at least the ones I've been in.
Yeah, it's kind of like you kind of have like the ranking politic kind of conflict here. You know you've got Frank, who's the manager, and you got Thomas, who's this he got a future. He's got a bright future because of all his talents and things. But I think you've got that rank politic conflict there. I think Thomas thinks he's somewhat got an attitude that he thinks he knows a lot and thinks he can do a lot too. But at the same time, Frank has got these expectations of Thomas, and Thomas is obviously not meeting those expectations. And I think that that's always going to be politics. There's always going to be problems in the work field. That politics always seems to be that problem. But I think the biggest thing is maybe rank or seniority or possibly position. But I don't know why Thomas would have that problem, because realistically, he's been promoted. See where he was compared to where he is now. He should be grateful. But I don't think he's looking at Frank. I don't think he's looking at Frank as, oh, he's my boss. He's just looking at him, oh, he's my boss. I think he should look at it as more, oh, he's my boss. He's been here a long time. He's got a lot of experience. What can I learn from him? I kind of think, I think that's where it kind of comes into play. I think over time, I think Thomas would eventually get that, and he would start learning from Frank, and, everything would start going well. But, he may lose his opportunity too if he doesn't change over quickly. So, what are some other conflict styles do you guys think are, that are an issue? Obviously, there's competition. Obviously, you have competition. That's a big thing. That seems to be a pretty big role. Competition. What else do you guys think?
The internet features, because we read that with the new web check-in, the airlines didn't need the kiosk. I don't know how to pronounce that, but they don't need it anymore. So the sales and also the clients start to use the web check-in and investing more in their internet page or website. So it was difficult for Green and for all the company to complete the sales and all the stuff like that.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I almost feel like Thomas, since he's not giving, hasn't been sending a schedule to Frank, I think there might be some kind of conflict of avoidance. Maybe he's trying to avoid Frank, or he's trying to kind of do things on his own and kind of think he can handle his stuff on his own, and he wants to kind of, impress Frank by, not having to have Frank always on over his shoulder or have him on a leash or anything like that. And I think that might be another conflict.
Well, yeah, it says in the thing, I think, that he avoided him on purpose.
Yeah, towards the end of things there, he was avoiding him. Yeah. Any chance he could, he was not trying to have any contact with him.
Yeah.
Which is never good. That should be your first red flag as an employee that there's a problem.
Right. So how do you guys think
No, I mean like you're having.
Unless they got married. Not until.
How can he? How do you guys think he could salvage the situation?
Do what he's told. He really
Yeah.
needs to work at following direction and realizing that he's the new guy, that he's the person who has the most to prove, because all these other people may have been handpicked by Davis, where he wasn't. So he has to go and prove to Davis still that he's worthy of that position. So he needs to work, twice as hard as everybody else to do that. And he may be brilliant, and we know that he's got a proven sales record and track record, but he can't, do the simple things, and it negates everything else positive he ever could do. He's not updating his calendar. He's not, doing the simple things, and so it's almost like he's putting together this huge report and this huge, type of work, but he's not turning in the work. So I mean, it doesn't really seem that there's a means to an end to what he's doing. He's just setting himself up for failure. So he needs to correct those most basic of things if he's going to have a job next month.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything more that I could say. Do his job.
Yeah, I totally agree there. I think he would actions speak louder than words in this situation, and I think if he wants to impress Frank and get him on his side and get a good relationship going and be able to talk to him about things that he may not agree with or may think that Frank, like the situation with the numbers in the forecast in the meeting, if you want to be able to have the relationship and be able to talk it out, get it figured out, first things first is you got to start showing your boss that you can do your work, that you're reliable, you're dependable, and once that goes, that will, then he'll be able to think, okay, I trust Thomas. Maybe I should listen to him. Maybe we can get something working out better. And I think that would be probably his best bet to make the situation better and develop and repair the relationship with Davis. So, just to kind of wrap up things, I kind of want to read to you guys, I want to share to you guys the rest of the story. There is an end to the story. So I want to read to you guys that, and we can just kind of share last comments about it. So this is basically what happened. So after McDonald's February 5th, 2008 email, Green took the offense against his boss. He crafted a series of memorandums, emails, reports, and projections that exposed inaccuracies and creative forecasting. This data enabled Green to build some alliances with other marketing personnel who used the data to ultimately side with him. On April 4th, it was announced that Frank Davis was being moved laterally to an undefined special project. However, Green's tactics were seen as overly brutal by many in the company, and although he won the battle against his boss, his career was irreparably harmed. McDonald distanced herself from him. By July 2008, Green announced he was resigning from his position to pursue full-time studies for an MBA. We can only speculate that what would have occurred if Green had tried to help Davis work out the discrepancies and problems with forecasts. Perhaps both would have succeeded. So what's your guys' thoughts on that?
Makes sense.
Yeah. It almost seems like the attitude and the way that things were going at the end, Thomas was out for his boss. He was trying to do everything he could to go after him and prove that he was wrong. And, which wasn't very, at the time, Green thought he was doing the best he could, doing the best for him and his boss, but overall, you can see what had happened, He lost confidence in McDonald's, he lost confidence in his coworkers and the whole firm and the whole company, and all of a sudden now he's deciding he needs to leave and pursue other things. So
I think the title of the case study says it all, right?
Yep.
Green was right. Davis's numbers were wrong. Green was right, but he didn't do the politics right, and so in the end, it destroyed his career there.
Yeah,
Had they gotten together and worked it out, and had he ingratiated himself to his boss, he could have helped. Like it said, he could have helped him see the error in his numbers, and they could have made the change. But he didn't do the politics right.
yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he won the battle, but he marked himself as someone who's unworkable, really difficult to work with, and anyone taking over as a supervisor is not going to want to provide him with projects to work on or take any risks with him because if it doesn't go his way, it's going to be seen as him looking out to blame it on a supervisor and try and ruin the career of those around him. So ultimately, it just really doesn't work out for him.
Yeah. So it looks like we actually have a break in between case studies. Actually, next week we don't have one. I was looking it up on the sign-up sheet. Week 10, there's no group study, so we don't need to meet next week.
Oh, hallelujah!
So, but it looks like Mike, you're lesson 11.
Okay.
And then I was scheduled for lesson 12, but since Brian, and it was kind of my fault, I should have gave people more notice tonight about me, not being able to make it till 8:30. But he sounds like he'll be able to do lesson 12, so he'll do lesson 12. So we've got 2 more case studies left, and then that's it. So.
Wow.
Sweet.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, thanks for meeting up on short notice, guys. Because again, I apologize, but work's been hectic, and so, but hopefully you guys have a wonderful week off from having to meet. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys week 11. So.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Yep. Thanks, guys.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye.
Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye.
See ya.